Pull it together, guys. Pull it together.
I thought you were recording already.
Hello. I think I was in the wrong key.
In the wrong key?
Wrong key. You know the New Zealand cricket player?
Nope.
Anyway. Welcome to podcast episode 53.
53? No, 54 maybe. Depends when we post this.
I think it's 53.
Okay.
It does depend when we post it though. Anyway, we're up here at the top level in Newman Hall.
What? You didn't say anything.
I did.
We decided to do a follow-up podcast to marriage. What are you waiting for?
Yes,
Because there were so many outstanding questions.
Yeah, Shana just had so many questions. So, and we believe if Shana has questions, you guys probably do too. Because she's very good at asking questions, I found. To know about our little Shana.
Actually,
yeah. Thank you.
Breaking
Also,
news too.
Nice haircut, Shana.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
I
you.
definitely noticed and commented on it this morning.
Thank you. They both did. Very good.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, right, so...
yesterday we were in T2
Yes.
for the first time in a long time.
Yes.
So we just had to celebrate with a little bit of a dance.
Yes, and we'll show that clip right now.
Yes.
How fantastic. It's funny because the woman that was serving us was freaked out, to say the least, by our dancing.
Yeah. She doesn't know who we are.
Not even slightly. We're just two random
She
guys.
doesn't know about fame and like how we try and deal with that.
She might not have Facebook at all. You know what I mean? She just doesn't.
I mean, that's the only way I can imagine her not knowing about Gregorian
Yeah,
chats.
exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The tea podcast that drinks
Yeah.
T2.
But she was super cool as well, and she wasn't like scared of us. Anyway.
She looked a bit scared, to be honest.
Yeah, I think she had moments of being
what was
scared.
that thing that I said and she looked really scared when I said it?
Ah.
Or was it just when I was dancing?
I think it was just
Anyway.
dancing.
Anyway, we're drinking Twinkleberry today.
Yes. It's a fruit tea.
It's great tea.
It's the fruitiest of all the teas, and it's a good sniffer. And hopefully a good sipper.
It's just been a long time since you've used that phrase.
It's a sniffer. It's
a good sipper.com.
I do like fruit teas, especially when they're cold though.
Yeah.
Brewed for a long
Yeah,
time.
with ice.
Yeah.
But
A
then I'm
bit
like,
of mint.
but then I'm like, it's just juice.
Is it?
It's definitely a brand of juice. Just juice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like we could talk about a lot of stuff today. So, I mean, where did we leave off? We talked a bit about...
Well, I think the last thing we were talking about is how to pick
highlights.
a spouse.
Oh, wow.
Or just like, general advice to people who are,
General advice.
I knew that was going to happen. Damn it! I just need to like be... Oh.
We're just covering all the major issues.
Major issues.
I'm outnumbered here. Anyway.
You can be outnumbered in private.
Private.
That was a terrible delivery. I should have... Anyway, let's not waste any more time.
Okay, I have questions. Alright?
Corporal questions?
I'm gonna...
Carry on.
No!
Carry on.
Okay, so, can you married men please explain to me marriage as a vocation? As
Marriage
opposed to
as a vocation.
not a vocation.
Yeah, because we kind of touched on this last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because I said that fantastic line, which is very quotable. Almost spilled coffee then. How, being married is the way that God's decided certain people get to heaven. Whereas being a priest is sort of like, okay, Father Chris, you're going to be a priest, that's how you'll get to heaven. Dom and Dom, you guys are going to get married.
Not to each other.
No, although we are both married.
Not to each other.
So then that's how we're going to get to heaven. But I feel like, vocation does go... Because, vocation, it's something that's... it's different. It's not something that's talked about... Like, we have, like, vocational studies in, like, the secular world, and that's kind of things that, like, they don't immediately lead into a job. It's more of an interest rather than a profession.
Or like, I'm a doctor, or, they'd be like, I'm a vocation as a doctor.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a different type. Well, that's the difference in vocational studies, but and then things like doctors, it's like almost a lifestyle, like teaching. So it's a lifestyle kind of job.
Yeah.
But then in Catholicism we have these big V vocations, which are I don't know. Yeah, there's something a bit more almost innate and fundamental to who we are as people. Whereas you can be a teacher, stop being a teacher, and be something else. You can't. Your vocation to being a priest. Whether or not you had a job beforehand, that's your primary vocation. That's the thing that matters.
Yes, I agree. We're going to do that tap thing again with our rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's and the secular view of vocation is very limited. Even outside of Catholicism, it can be quite limited because there's no concept of priesthood. There's like pastoring, but that's ideally married couples get asked to do that, so it's very different. But yeah, I think that was like one of kind of leftover points from last podcast.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something like before about I don't know, for me, like a vocation is something that's like lifelong in a way, like in terms of marriage. It's like I think I'm kind of going to like this whole thing of commitment.
Okay.
It's like, what's the difference between like again, like dating for like, we don't have to get married, we can just date, like not, you know what I mean? And but at the same time, I think you said something about I don't know, marriage not being this external thing.
Yes.
Because you said that it's something that's innate.
Yeah. It's something. Yeah, and also like it is this big thing about commitment, as you're mentioning. Yeah, it's weird because I suppose on the outside, somebody who's not married could be living a married life with somebody, but the vocation it's deeper. There's something more, spiritual about it, but almost like on the one hand it's a decision, and then because I feel do you feel anything, though?
I feel things all the time. It's actually quite a hobby. I think so going what you were saying, Shana, about marriage not being this external thing, like it's made up of two people, but then once two people get married they create a marriage, and then they might say, oh well, someone's saying, oh how's it going, Dom? And like, oh well, we're having marriage problems, and it's like, oh, what do you think is wrong? And it's like, I don't know, there's just something wrong with our marriage, things are kind of falling apart and the marriage is not healthy. In reality, there aren't really marriage problems. What you have are people problems, in the sense that if something goes wrong with a marriage, what is it? It's a marriage of two people, which means that something has to go wrong with, I guess, either communication, some kind of thing, personality thing, or and this is not to undermine the whole idea of talking about marriage as a unity. It's like, what I'm saying is, if there is an issue in a marriage, you can't kind of pass it off on the vocation itself as this kind of entity that exists outside of you and your wife or your husband. Yeah. And so in a sense, I think it's taking ownership for the good and the bad, which is something that's really funny in relationships. People often go like, oh yeah, we have a great relationship. Yeah. And quite happy to take the credit for that. But then when something goes wrong with a relationship, it's like something went wrong. Must have been the other person,
Right, yeah. But yeah, I think because being married, it is a calling on a life. It is and like I think there's the misconception of, okay, priests, they do the holy stuff, and married people, we do the normal stuff. It's like, okay, now we're gonna have a kid, we're gonna get married, I'm gonna get a real job 9 to 5, pay taxes, and the priests, they can live in this kind of like other way of life where I don't have to engage in that.
Pathway to heaven.
Yeah. So like, priests are the holy ones and we're just the lay people. And I think that is a misconception because I think, on the one hand, we're all baptized priest, prophet and king, and therefore we have to live that. But also I think just, we're all on a spiritual journey. We're all trying to get to heaven. And I think that's what we need to remember as we're heading into anything. It's like, this is how I'm going to get to heaven. And, Bishop Barron was quoting someone, I think it was Kierkegaard, and said, the saint is the person whose life is about one thing. Cool. He's not saying that's about being boring, it's about, like, it's just about, like, maths or something. It's like, it's about getting to heaven. And so then everything revolves around that. And then, but then there's this, with marriage, there's this extra challenge of doing it with somebody else. Cool. My aim is to get Jess to heaven. Her aim is to get me to heaven, and that transforms everybody. You know, you can't, you can't not be changed by that. I don't think.
That's the ideal. It doesn't always feel like that, and like you'd ask any of the saints as well.
Yeah.
Ask Mother Teresa, man, it must have felt amazing being a saint. You know, you've got this glow around you all the time. No, there are often some difficult and dark moments.
Yes.
Like anything. I think something that I was reflecting on was people often think, the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
So they often think in terms of a marriage, like is marriage right for me? Is it wrong for me? Because when you're single, and I remember being single and thinking, man, like I feel quite lonely. I would love to be able to watch this movie with someone else. I would love to be able to share in this joy and like I always want someone in my life. But then on the other side of the coin, you've kind of got some married people like, man, I wish that I could just get some time to myself, for the things I want to do. And so there's always going to be an element of compromise when it comes to your vocation. You can't always have your cake and eat it too. And this is not to downplay.
Sorry.
It's this thing we have. Sorry.
Okay, you have a cake thing. Okay. What I'm saying is that I guess you can't expect a vocation to save you out of loneliness or to save you out of any, I guess, personal feelings of something missing in your life, because no matter what it is, like there were various times when I was discerning the priesthood, and I kind of thought, could I do it? Couldn't I do it? It was kind of around about like, would I feel too lonely?
Yeah.
And I was kind of a lot of the time I'm thinking, I would love to be able to share my life with someone, but then at other times I'm thinking, man, I love having the freedom of being single, and
and that's what priests do. They just go around being free.
They're so free, which is exactly the opposite.
Well, what I was thinking also is like, we're talking about sharing that movie with somebody, and I think, it's not magic. We don't like, I'm in a relationship. I'm in a relationship, I'm married, and I'm going to have this magical connection every time.
Yeah.
And the same with the priesthood. It's sort of like, the only people that could be priests are people that don't like hanging out with people and watching movies with people. That's the call to the priesthood. I think, that vocation, going back to your question, is it's a lot deeper. It's kind of like, you see people as like, wow, he'd be a great husband and father, and, why is he a priest? Kind of thing. Or,
what a waste!
Like, this guy's super holy. He should be saying the mass, but he's married,
raising children,
and and I think and that's just the kind of oxymoronic way that God works sometimes. Of just like, okay, it seems to be going this way, but in fact, I have something better in mind for you.
I think that's like the cool thing about we talked about this, that maybe a vocation means like that it's not about you, like. We were talking about what is like, what do I need to look for in a good spouse or whatever, and it's like, it's not like a list per se. It's like marriage is something that, like you said, will get you to heaven, and so it's not about you. And it's cool what you said, that your mission as well is to get Jess to heaven. Jess' mission is to get you to heaven. It's this kind of self-giving thing, as opposed to like, what do I get out of marriage? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can get to the stage, I think, when you realise this, when you're married, and so you're like, okay, we're getting each other to heaven. But then also, something that's really exciting is, like I said in the last podcast, when you start to discern what God's calling you to do in terms of how many other people are you bringing to heaven with you as a couple, and what's your ministry, I guess is a better way of saying that. As a couple, you might have a special charism for helping out new Christians, or helping people through relationship difficulties, or doing a podcast. But I had a question for you, Shana. What is something that really annoys you other than people's alarms going off in podcasts?
I'm so sorry. I totally thought I turned it off.
It's fine.
No. What is something that's kind of a common pet peeve about married people? Just, I guess in particular. It can be anything, like just be honest. Like married people who get into relationships that kind of go towards marriage.
We were talking about this earlier. Well, I guess it kind of relates as well. Like one thing is, like I said, it's like not magic. Like marriage isn't this kind of romantic thing that I think it pisses. I mean, it is in a sense, but it's like, when people, it saddens me because like sometimes I really love these like celebrity couples. You know what I mean? Like I root for these people, and then they're like, when they release their statements, it's like, we're just going to be on this we still love each other and we're still best friends, but we're just on a different journey now. And I'm like, what the heck does that mean?
On a contributions holiday.
Like, what does that mean? Like the spark is gone or whatever. And it's like, what? Really? Like, is that what they've boiled marriage down to? The spark, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And another thing would be...
It's not just about the Tinder. Sorry.
so just...
the Tinder, the spark, the wood.
Okay.
Tinder, the wood, yeah.
Sure. I think when... I guess it relates as well, like this whole it's about me type thing. It's like if I have like friends that are like in relationships or something like that or whatever, and once they're in a relationship, they're like nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, thought
Drop
we were
off
hanging
the face
out.
of the earth.
You know, like I mean, yeah. So I don't know. Like, is it like a thing that do you change like when you become married? Like you're just suddenly this different person that you can't be friends with the same friends you.
It's funny you mention because like Jess and I started out our relationship in a volunteer community, and one of the things is you weren't allowed to have exclusive relationships, so then you weren't like so it didn't turn into cliques, and so one of the things that we had to learn real fast is like how do we share our relationship with the people around us? How do we be in exclusively in a relationship with each other, however not being exclusive by rejecting everybody else.
Yeah.
And so, that's one thing that like both Jess and I really value in our relationship and in the growth that we've had in that relation in our relationship in our marriage and being able to share it with other people. It's just brought a lot more value to it. But yeah, I totally get what you mean. I think it happens to everyone. You make one of your mates gets a girlfriend, you never see him again, and it's just like, well, that was fun whilst it lasted. And on the other hand, it's kind of like, I'll just text Steve, and then his girlfriend will come as well, and then there'll be two people. It's like almost the same person, and I think there is an element of that. I think there has to be.
I think that's okay, like because I mean, for me, it's like I just understand. You know what I mean? Like if they're happy, whatever. But that's just, I guess, a fact of life. I don't know.
I think this might sound weird. I kind of want it to sound weird, but
okay.
To make my point, which is like a good marriage should make other people want to be a part of it.
Right.
And that sounds really weird because a marriage is between two people, but marriage fundamentally is a creation of community. And so I think one thing that's really important in a marriage is like, I was actually thinking this the other day when we were walking down the road, right? Once again with the whole marriage thing between Dom and I. But I was like, if people see our friendship or whatever and the way that we can joke and banter, and they might think like, man, those guys look like they get along really well. I would want to like hang out with them, and like that's often the way that I've been attracted to certain friend groups in the past. So I think bringing it back to marriage, it's kind of healthy for people to want to kind of have an in on that relationship, in that marriage, but in a community sense. And so I think if a couple gets married and disappears off the face of the earth, I do think there's an important period of time when you get married that you need to just, even especially the first year, you just need to have a lot of time, just the two of you together. But then I think after that, it's quite healthy to try and open up your marriage in a sense to other people. People who need your help, or like people who are struggling from depression or loneliness, or and not to turn your home into kind of like a homeless drop-in center necessarily, but just it's like your marriage should produce fruit. And I'm not just talking about like children, right? Every marriage should and has the ability to produce fruit that can multiply in groups of people. And so there's so much life that should be generated by a marriage, and therefore that can be given out to other people. So I think if it's too exclusive, then it's not functioning right.
I think but I think like in that it has an element of exclusivity in that it's just you two,
right?
And it can't be just shared with everyone. So like, I'm married to you, but I'm gonna spend like most of my time with my friends as well.
That's true.
And so you need that exclusivity, and that will change you, and it should change you. And you need to grow into that relationship with your spouse.
It's a little overflow, I guess.
Yeah, and then so the overflow is people like, people can't be attracted to that relationship if you don't have that relationship.
Yeah, true.
And so I think there is an element of actually, you won't be hanging out with your friends as much, which is fair enough. But there's something that is also important is like God created us all uniquely with a call on our hearts specifically for us, and we can't lose that either, because you need to, I'm married to Jess, but I'm still Dom. I'm not like now.
Yeah.
It's Dom and Jess. Now it's Des. There's just one person.
It's
Des. Or Dora. You need to pay attention to your own specific calling, like and you need to incorporate that into your spouse's calling. How these two work together to do the thing that God wants you to do, again, to get you to heaven. Because rom-coms will show you that the wedding is the end game,
right?
And it is if dating is the game. But once you get married, you're no longer playing the dating game, you're playing the married game. And so you're actually, though you're the big fish in the pond of dating, you've actually just jumped into the ocean of being married.
Exactly. And people spend hours upon hours upon hours upon weeks, months planning their wedding day.
Yeah.
But maybe only one weekend planning their marriage. Planning marriage prep should really be much more than what it is in terms of whatever you spend on organizing one day, your wedding day, should be good, should be a good wedding, but you need to put twice or triple the amount into setting up the foundations for your marriage. That's my final point.
Yeah, but then again, I think you have to get married to be prepared for marriage. I don't think it's something you can.
Oh right, yeah.
You can't do a degree in marriage preparation and then say, right now I'm ready to find a spouse.
No. And
praying's necessary, but if that's all you're doing and you're not acting, you're not going to find your spouse either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what I think. You think?
Yep.
Good. Well, I've enjoyed talking about this.
Yeah. We may even have a part 3 one day. Who knows?
Because we can't. Yeah, we just.
I just think it's
other questions.
So many other questions.
So many other questions.
Yeah, man, it's been good. Thanks, Mary Doms.
No worries.
Single Shana.
Single Shana.
You're very welcome.
I'm sure you don't want to be called that for the rest of your life. But thanks for joining us on this podcast. We really appreciate your listenership. Share, and subscribe. Share with your friends.
God bless.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the podcast. I've got good news. It just got a whole lot easier to search for us online.
All you got to do is search Gregorian Chat into YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, and Player FM for those who are on Android.
Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. See you later. God bless.